Well, our final inductee is Bob Wertz. For more than 40 years, Bob has contributed to referee programs at the state, regional, and national levels of soccer in the United States, and his influence can be seen in hundreds of officials across the country. Wertz currently is the assessor coordinator for USU Soccer Region 3, where he assigns all assessors to games and manages the assessor mentor program. All of Bob's present duties are a continuation of a lifetime of contributions to refereeing in the United States. Beginning with his early days as an assistant state referee administrator in Baton Rouge, Bob helped create significant advances in referee development and programs. From 2004 to 2010, he acted as chairman of the Youth Referee Committee for USU Soccer. In his role as Youth Referee Committee Chairman, Bob fulfilled a long list of accomplishments to help improve referee performance and development. He was the 2002 recipient of the Eddie Pearson Award for contributions to the USSF referee program, and he has since become the namesake of an award given in USU Soccer Region 3. The Bob Wertz Award is presented to a participating referee at the USU Soccer Region 3 Championships who displays leadership and support to his or her fellow referees. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the fabulous Bob Wertz.
Wow, I have to keep pinching myself and tell myself this is the real thing. It's not in the Matrix or anything. I'm reminded of a story of a Navy pilot who was sitting in a restaurant in Kansas City. And he noticed a gentleman across the room, and they made eye contact. And eventually the gentleman came over and talked to him, and he said, "You're Charlie Plum, aren't you?" He said, "Yes, I am." "You flew 75 missions in the Vietnam War, didn't you?" "Yes, I did." "You were shot down and you served as a POW for 6 years, 2,103 days. He said, "Yes, I did." He said, "How did you know that?" The gentleman said, "Well, I packed your parachute." And so Charlie got to thinking. He jumped up, shook his hand, and started thinking. He said, "You know, here I go through as a officer flying these missions and never think about the folks who do all the work and make it possible for me to survive." And he got shot down 6 days before he was supposed to tour back to the United States. And so Charlie started thinking. He said, "You know, I need to make it a point," and that became part of his philosophy about helping identify folks who pack their parachutes. And it was sort of an inspiration for me. We had a videotape of one of Charlie's presentations, overcoming adversity at one of the national referee camps in the 90s. And that's how I first got to know the story behind Charlie. And I haven't forgotten that because I think for me, it was appropriate in terms of who packed my parachute. Folks who helped me along. I didn't do all those things by myself. I got a lot of help from many of you here in the room. But some I'd like to identify just and maybe think about some of the things that have happened. Some you'll know, as Peggy said, some you might not know. Hank DeBoard, Bob Abbott, Dave Burden, Mike McDaniel, Larry Monaco. Larry was fascinated with a workshop I did in D.C., Virginia. It was on becoming a credible referee. And one of the topics that we covered was, for referees, particularly young referees, was how to manage the moods and emotions of players without yellow and red cards. It's a pretty tall task. It can be done. And if you watched the Cincinnati Bengals 2 weeks ago in the last quarter, you saw exactly what happened, particularly when dealing with angry players and frustrated players. And you saw a lot of that in the last, what I thought was going to be 10 minutes, turned out to be an hour. And those officials had to pull out all the stops to keep the game from literally going down the tubes. John back here in the background helped pack my parachute. Jim and Rob Martella. Jim's running the national tournament, and my first experience with Jim is whether, how was he going to be when it came time to backbone, who was going to back me up at these tournaments? And so we had an incident at a Disney tournament involving, shall we say, a state rep from the far west, and no, it was not Cal South. And the state rep had created a problem for the tournament officials, the referees, and so forth. Well, Jim sent him home, told him he could not come back in the Disney complex at all. And I was like, for myself, I was like, wow. That's how far they're willing to go to protect the referees so that the games can be played. Now, I have Frank Giancroce from Region 1, who's been a friend for 25 years. I mean, what more can I ask for? Ryan Sigich. The story with Ryan goes something like this. When Dave Burton called and asked if I would run the Regional 3 tournament, and I said yes. I said I had one condition. I said, I'd like to find 2 or 3 guys, teach them how to run this tournament, bring them in, and let them take it over from there. Because these tournaments take a lot out of you as a referee administrator. So I guess in the second year, there's a rumor going around. And someone comes up, they don't know this story, but they come up and say, Bob, Ryan's out for your job. Then someone else comes up, Ryan is coming after your job. I was like, okay, I'm going to address that at the referee meeting that night. So the first thing I said, look, I got all the referees assembled. I said, there's a rumor going around, and I just want to take care of it right away, that Ryan is after my job. Well, I just want to tell you and say it's true. Stunned silence. What they didn't know, and what I just shared with you, was the arrangement was I'd teach Ryan, and Dave Lakin was there too, how to run these tournaments so the referees feel like they're getting the best shot at games. And appointments weren't based on grade, they were based on how well they do. Referees are very competitive, just like the players, just like the coaches. But if they can demonstrate that they can do the best job, so to it. So eventually that worked out, and Ryan moved into that position. He's brought on some other staff. If you want someone who can motivate referees or any group of people, Roger Borton from North Carolina can do that. Because when referees are down in the dumps, we get Roger out there, and in 10 minutes, he's got the whole mood of the room changed and uplifted. And I watched Roger last year because he couldn't make it for the whole tournament. And all the referees would surround him, and they get this, I could watch what the reaction was. And so Ryan's been very good at picking out people. Ryan and David started a mentor program in Region 3. Well, eventually when Ryan took over, he got Paul Scott from Tulsa. And the story with Paul is he did a very good job. Paul is now the managing director of referees for CONCACAF. So we've got the pretty good knack for spotting talent that can move on. That's my point about that. There's others along the way. Ed Lauk, Pam Koppel, who nominated me, Jim Albertson, who took over and, is just taken off from where we were. Werner Fricker, senior and junior. Bill Rushing, the chairman of our state referee committee. Fred Heiler, who's taken pictures here, but is always an asset at the tournaments and helps out. Bob Ung, Paul James. 2 people particularly I want to thank. Jack McCabe, who got me started at doing administration work, as he affectionately called me the kingfish from Baton Rouge in a nice sort of way. But who from Baton Rouge is going to ever do anything at a national level? Well, that was the road that started that. And the second person, and the most important to me, my wife Nancy, and she's here with me tonight. And she sort of packed my parachute along the way, and she does it every day with love and tenderness and kindness and supporting the things I do. So I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish, along with a lot of help from a lot of folks. I'm grateful for the support that we got from USU Soccer And I'm gratified that there are folks out there that are willing to take up the slack and move on. Ryan Sigich is one, Roger's another, Jonathan Mearsman, Rick Eddy, they're all there. And so congratulations to all those folks who are winners and the nominees tonight. I think you did a really good job of who either packed your parachute or whose parachute you're packing. But I challenge the rest of you, and I'll leave you with this. Whose parachute are you packing? Good night, and God bless.